Ladies and gentlemen, the way you speak to a man determines the depth of his love for you. The words you choose, the tone you use, and the energy behind your speech can either draw him closer or push him away. The Bible teaches us that words hold power, power to heal, power to inspire, and power to connect on a soul level. If you want a man to be addicted to you, not in a superficial way, but in a way that ties his heart to yours, you must learn the language of respect, admiration, and emotional security. The Bible teaches that love is patient, kind, and does not dishonor others. 1 Corinthians 13:4-7. When your words reflect love, they will create a bond that no force can break. Speak to him like this, and he won't just love you, he will cherish you. The book of Proverbs tells us gracious words are like a honeycomb, sweetness to the soul and health to the body. Proverbs 16:24. This verse reveals a powerful truth. Our words carry weight, shaping the emotions and mindset of those who hear them. In relationships, especially between a man and a woman, the way you speak to him determines how he feels about himself, about you, and about the relationship. A man is drawn to a woman who speaks life into him. This does not mean empty flattery or manipulation. It means choosing words that uplift rather than tear down, words that remind him of his strength rather than his shortcomings. When a man feels encouraged by the way you speak, he will crave your presence. He will see you as his source of peace, a place where he can recharge and be reminded of his worth. Men, like women, experience moments of doubt and insecurity. The world constantly places expectations on them to be strong, to be providers, to lead. And while many carry this responsibility with grace, there are moments when the weight feels unbearable. In those moments, a man longs for someone who will remind him of his potential, not his failures. A woman who speaks life into her man is one who understands that her words can either be a burden or a blessing. Imagine a man who has had a rough day. Perhaps work was stressful, or he faced rejection in some form. If he comes home to a woman who criticizes him, questions his abilities, or makes him feel small, he will begin to associate her presence with negativity. Over time, he will emotionally withdraw, seeking comfort elsewhere. But if he comes home to a woman who acknowledges his struggles, yet speaks to the greatness within him, he will feel recharged. He will associate her words with safety and her presence with peace. Speaking life into him does not mean ignoring problems or pretending everything is perfect. It means choosing to communicate with wisdom and encouragement rather than frustration and negativity. Even when correction is necessary, it can be done in a way that builds rather than breaks. A wise woman knows how to express concerns in a way that inspires a man to improve rather than making him feel like a failure. Proverbs 18:21 tells us that the tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. This verse serves as a reminder that our words either create or destroy. If you want a man to feel emotionally connected to you, speak to his spirit. Tell him what you admire about him. Remind him of his strengths. Encourage him when he feels weak. The Bible also speaks about the power of agreement in relationships. Again, truly I tell you that two of you on earth agree about anything they ask for, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven. When a woman aligns her words with a man's purpose and speaks with faith into his life, she is not only supporting him, she is helping him manifest his potential. A man will cherish a woman who sees his greatness even when he cannot. A practical way to speak life into a man is through affirmation. Simple phrases like, I believe in you, I appreciate all that you do, or you inspire me can transform his mindset. Instead of saying you never do anything right, say, I know you're capable of figuring this out. Instead of you don't care about me, say, I feel most loved when you do this. The shift in words can change the entire atmosphere of the relationship. A man will always return to the place where he feels most valued. If your words consistently build him up, he will see you as his greatest source of encouragement. He will not just love you, he will need you. When a man feels spoken to in a way that nurtures his spirit, he will be drawn to you with a loyalty that cannot be broken. The Bible warns us in Proverbs 21:9, it is better to live on the corner of a rooftop than to share a house with a quarrelsome wife. This verse is not just about marriage, but about the nature of communication in relationships. How a woman speaks to a man determines the depth of his emotional connection. When a man feels constantly criticized, nagged, or spoken to with harshness, he will begin to associate her presence with stress rather than peace. However, when she speaks with kindness, patience, and wisdom, he will be drawn to her, craving her words and her presence. Men, just like women, have emotions. They may not always express them in the same way, but they feel deeply. A man's heart is most open when he feels respected. Respect is not about blind obedience or putting a man on a pedestal. It's about speaking to him in a way that honors his dignity. If you want a man to feel deeply connected to you, let your words be a source of comfort, not conflict. There will be moments when a man makes mistakes, forgets things, or doesn't meet expectations. In those moments, frustration is natural. However, the way frustration is expressed makes all the difference. If a woman raises her voice, belittles him, or constantly points out his flaws, he will shut down emotionally. He may not argue back, but over time he will withdraw. The Bible encourages a different approach in Ephesians 4:29. Oh, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who... Speaking with kindness does not mean avoiding difficult conversations. It means choosing words that uplift rather than tear down. Instead of saying, you never listen to me, try saying, I feel most loved when you listen to what I'm sharing. Instead of, you're always messing things up, try, I know you're capable, and I appreciate when you take the time to handle things. These small shifts in communication make a man feel safe rather than defensive. A man wants to feel like he is doing well in the relationship. If he feels like nothing he does is ever good enough, he will lose motivation to try. That is why it is essential to acknowledge his efforts, even if they are small. If he surprises you with something thoughtful, let him know you appreciate it. If he tries to fix a situation, even if it's imperfect, recognize his effort. Gratitude and appreciation go a long way in making a man feel valued. The Bible also speaks of the power of a gentle spirit. Proverbs 15. Proverbs 15:1 turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. A woman who speaks with gentleness can calm a man even in moments of tension. Instead of escalating arguments, she diffuses them. Instead of creating emotional distance, she creates connection. Men remember how a woman makes them feel. If a man feels constantly criticized, he will eventually distance himself. But if he feels encouraged and respected, he will seek her presence. A man will become addicted to a woman whose words make him feel stronger, more capable, and more loved. A practical way to apply this is by watching tone and timing. If something needs to be addressed, wait until both of you are calm. Approach him with a tone that invites conversation, not confrontation. Say what needs to be said, but do it in a way that maintains peace. The words you speak will shape the relationship you build. If you speak with kindness, he will see you as his safe place. If you speak with criticism, he will see you as another source of praise. If you want a man to be addicted to you, let your words be the ones that bring him peace, strength, and encouragement. Men are driven by purpose. Deep within every man is a desire to accomplish something meaningful. To build, to protect, and to lead in some way. This is how God created him. From the beginning, Adam was given responsibility over the Garden of Eden before Eve was even introduced into his life. This shows that a man's purpose is foundational to his existence. A woman who understands this and speaks to a man's vision rather than his limitations will hold a special place in his heart. Proverbs 27, 17 says, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. This means that the right words spoken at the right time can sharpen a man's focus, motivation, and commitment, not just to his dreams, but to the woman who believes in him. Every man faces moments of doubt where his vision becomes clouded and secure. He may feel like he is not enough, or that his efforts are going unnoticed. This is where a woman's words can either break him further or rebuild his confidence. If she constantly points out his shortcomings or doubts his abilities, he will start to internalize that negativity. However, if she reminds him of his strengths and affirms his ability to overcome challenges, he will see her as his greatest source of encouragement. A woman who speaks to his vision rather than his problems becomes someone he never wants to be without. Proverbs 31:26 describes a wise woman by saying, "She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue." Wisdom in speech means knowing when to correct and when to uplift. It means speaking life into a man's ambitions rather than adding to his stress. If he shares a dream with you, your response can either inspire him or discourage him, saying things like, "I believe in you, I see your potential." Or, "You have everything it takes to succeed," may seem simple, but they are. It is also important to recognize that speaking to a man's vision does not mean ignoring reality. There may be times when he is struggling or making poor decisions. In these moments, rather than belittling him, help him refocus. Ask him questions that guide him back to his goal. Encourage him to seek God's wisdom and remind him that setbacks are not the end of the story. 1 Thessalonians 5:11 says, "Encourage one another and build each other up, just as in fact you are doing." A man needs a woman who will build him up, not tear him down, even when he is at his lowest. One of the greatest ways to speak to a man's vision is by aligning your words with his sense of purpose. If he is working towards something, acknowledge his hard work. If he is doubting himself, remind him of his past victory. If he is feeling lost, encourage him to seek clarity and trust that God has a plan. Jeremiah 29:11 reminds us, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." When you remind a man of this truth, you help him see beyond his current situation. The man who feels supported in his purpose will naturally grow more attached to the woman who believes in him. He will see her not just as a romantic partner, but as a trusted ally, someone who sees his greatness even when he cannot. A man will never forget a woman who speaks to the best in him. He will always seek her wisdom, respect her presence, and cherish her encouragement, because she is not just part of his life, she is part of his purpose. The Bible teaches us in Proverbs 19:22, what a person desires is unfailing love. Better to be poor than a liar. This verse highlights a fundamental truth about relationships. Love is not just about emotions, but about consistency, honesty, and the security that comes from trust. A man becomes emotionally attached to a woman when he feels that her love, support, and presence are reliable. When a man knows that he can trust you, not just in the big moments, but in the small, everyday ones, he will be drawn to you in a way that goes beyond attraction. Trust is not just about faithfulness in the traditional sense. It is about emotional security. A man needs to feel that he can be vulnerable with you without fear of judgment. Many men are taught to hide their emotions, to be strong no matter what. The world expects them to be providers, leaders, and protectors. But even the strongest man has moments of weakness. And in those moments, he is searching for a place where he can rest emotionally. A woman who makes him feel safe emotionally will have his loyalty forever. Emotional safety comes from how you react to his struggles, failures, and even his silence. If a man shares something personal and is met with criticism, mockery, or indifference, he will shut down. He will begin to see you as someone he cannot fully open up to, and over time, this will create distance. However, if he feels that he can come to you with his fears, his dreams, and even his mistakes, and you will listen without judgment, he will crave your presence. He will see you as his safe place, the one person he does not have to pretend for. The Bible tells us in 1 Corinthians 13:7 that love always protects, always trusts, always perseveres. Love that builds emotional safety is not about perfection. It is about consistency. A woman who creates a space of trust for a man does not have to be perfect, but she does have to be reliable. He needs to know that in moments of doubt, she will not abandon him emotionally. He needs to know that her love is not dependent on his success or failure, but on the essence of who he is. Another way to build emotional safety is through patience. Sometimes a man may struggle to express what he feels, not because he does not trust you, but because he has never been taught how to process emotions. If you pressure him to open up before he is ready, he may retreat further. But if you give him the space to come to you in his own time, he will begin to see you as a refuge. Isaiah 40:31 says, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength." Just as God gives us the space to grow and come to him in our own time, a woman who is patient with a man's emotional process allows him to build deeper trust in the relationship. Actions also play a key role in emotional safety. It is not enough to say, "You can trust me," if your actions suggest otherwise. If a man confides in you and later finds that his words were shared with others, he will never open up again. If he notices that your reactions to his struggles are unpredictable, sometimes supportive, sometimes dismissive, he will begin to withdraw. But if he consistently experiences kindness, respect, and understanding, he will feel secure in your presence. A man will always return to the place where he feels the most peace. If your words, actions, and presence create an environment where he feels safe to be himself, he will be emotionally addicted to you. He will not just see you as a partner, but as the one person who truly understands him. And in a world that often demands that he be strong, you will be the place where he feels free to just be. Relationships are built not just on love, but on the foundation of how we communicate, uplift, and create emotional security for one another. A woman who understands how to speak to a man's heart, respect his nature, and support his vision will hold a place in his life that no one else can replace. The Bible teaches us that words have power, death, and life are in the power of the tongue. Proverbs 18:21. The way you speak to a man can either build him up or break him down. If you want him to crave your presence, let your words be a source of peace rather than pressure. Let your voice be one that reassures him rather than reminds him of his failures. When you understand the impact of your words, you can inspire a man to be his best self while drawing him closer to you. A man becomes addicted to the woman who makes him feel respected and valued. He cherishes the woman who speaks to his potential rather than his flaws. He trusts the woman who provides emotional safety, allowing him to be vulnerable without fear of judgment. When a woman masters the art of speaking life into a man, she becomes irreplaceable. So as you move forward, remember this. Your words, your presence, and your support have the power to shape the heart of the man in your life. Speak with kindness, uplift with wisdom, and create an atmosphere where he feels seen, respected, and safe. Because a man will always be drawn back to the woman whose love, encouragement, and strength feel like